This is the talk of Music City real estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carrie Ann Sear and Jason Hoover are in the house.
Hey, I found my way back.
You did.
No, it's been a while, man.
I love. We got us all in the house today.
We've missed you. How many? I remember when we used to be in the Super Talk 99.7, and you were one of our first guests to come in and take the chance of sitting down with Miss Carrie Ann and myself.
Oh,
I'm sure that was kind of a risky proposition there initially.
To think back, that was a doozy of a time.
Yeah, I'm surprised they could hear any of the voice going on because of all the shaking, really.
But just to think how long it's been and how exciting and what a difference we've made with the show. So it's
yeah, what episode is this, Mr. McCarthy? Is that like number 187?
He's getting that one.
He's getting that.
Hold on. Let's see.
Are we pausing?
I don't think we're pausing.
We're not pausing. All right,
we're
we're keeping going.
We're going to keep
going.
So
as he's looking that up, Monty, dear real estate industry.
Yes, those of Jason and I are always encouraging people to subscribe to this online magazine called Inman News. It's
good.
It's one of the best. Yeah. Have you?
I do it. Yeah.
Okay.
You told me to sign up. I signed up. I listened to you, Mom.
Thank you for being coachable. Thank you very much. But in light of the reality that a lot of folks haven't, we always wanted, sometimes it's a good idea to pick things out to discuss that are on this. And this is really an interesting one because Brad Inman, who I'm assuming Inman News is
somewhere
connected
from. Yeah. Child of, son of, brother, owner.
He and 70 other industry leaders got together in Palm Springs, California just a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And their intention was to collectively try to analyze and figure out where are we heading in this industry, And I don't know that anybody knows, but we're gonna cover some of those things. But I think this is
a fortune teller there as well. I'm not sure.
And honestly, I think that might be helpful. I'm not sure where things are going.
This is about as good as you can get.
But the reason why we want to talk about this, guys, for those of you that are regular listeners and watchers, is that, it's so easy. It's so easy not to talk about the big fat elephant in the corner of the room.
Right.
And just pretend like, that'll go away. I remember when one of the better known tech companies came to town, and one of the older companies' leaders said, don't worry about it. It's just a fad. It'll go away. And then, 18% of the market later, or whatever it was that they got, they achieved before they decided to slow down a little bit, they proved that, maybe this is not going to go away. Maybe life is changing. Maybe we all need to pay attention to these kind of things because from this old guy's perspective, our world is kind of like an escalator heading this way. And if we're not marching up, guess where we're going? We're heading, behind the times. And our goal here, of course, is to equip you. It is to empower you to make sure you're staying on top of all the latest and greatest. And one of the ways to do that is every once in a while we have to kind of like take inventory of the craziness out there and say, okay, it is what it is. Let's not ignore it. Let's be ready to address it. Let's be ready to pivot. A famous real estate mortgage lady taught me that term, to pivot. And go with it, because good things are happening regardless of the economy, regardless of the interest rates, regardless of all the craziness going on. There's good things happening. People still need housing. We live in a industry, we're part of an industry that will continue, the need will not go away just because of the chaos.
Well, when we think about, the Blockbuster story, right? With Netflix, I mean, they could have bought Netflix and they didn't because they thought they could stand the time, right? You think of Jeffrey the giraffe with Toys R Us, right?
Sad
and
story.
You see this picture of him holding his suitcase.
That was a very sad,
it was so sad
image.
But thinking
that was
about
my childhood.
that, I know. But you think about that, with Amazon, right? And I mean, thank goodness, as a parent in this day and age with Amazon, I don't know how y'all did it without. Like, I need a costume tomorrow. I need a toy for the birthday party by the end of business. I mean, all the things, right? So times are changing, right? We have to be moving with the times. We do pivot. You would think, though, our core real estate industry, the mortgage world that we're in, would stay consistent. But again, it's going to have maybe a different look and feel.
So Mr. Inman starts his letter off with, "Dear real estate industry," great minds here. "Does your future feel muddled? No wonder. Bank failures, a war in Europe, sky-high inflation, rising interest rates, aggressive central bank intervention, and a wobbly global economy all play their part. And who knows what the next shoe to drop will be." That's just enough to make you want to stay home, I mean, seriously. But again, I think it's really important as a independent contractor, as a business owner who's committed to their business, not just interested when things are comfortable, to be able to face these things and, let's talk about it. Let's, discuss the pros and cons of these things and try to be as prepared as what we can. And, I know there's limits in that, but I love the fact that the leadership here got together and they spent a few days trying to determine out, what are things going to look like? I mean, topics like life after market correction. What is that going to look like? I mean, can we expect by the end of this year things different, Jason? Or do you think, how long do you think we're going to be in this current level which is just kind of a funny little, it's not down, it's not up, it's more like normal, really, for those who've been around it for a while. Mm-hmm. But what do you see is going to happen here, Jason? Let me put you on the spot.
I need a disclaimer here.
No, we're all going to go to the
asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's anybody's guess at this point. Even I was reading another article about looking at the past 4 decades of data, and even that doesn't give us a clear picture.
No.
And so, really, with everything that's going on, and some of the things that you haven't mentioned yet that we may talk about later, it really just determined, or it's really determined upon the individuals that are making laws, making rules, because one is the interest hikes, and so they know they're causing it, but they're doing it for a reason, to try to get inflation under control. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and then you got the other things that are in the lawsuits, and so if I had to guess, I would say this is just a correction time. It's not a crash time, and if you are, if you are the committed agent, then this is the time to buckle down on your lead generation, on your marketing. Mm-hmm. This is your moment to take market share, because if it is just a correction period, and then say 24 people feel a little bit easier about it, then you've captured that mind share, and your business should be better. Also, you've got agents that are leaving the industry, and I know we were talking earlier about the percentage. I heard 37% from somewhere. I'm not sure if that was a local, or I think that was national, but regardless, there's going to be more.
Right.
There's more leaving, so that's less competition, and you can focus more on capturing that and becoming the authority in your area.
Love that.
Yeah, and I absolutely, agree with that. If you're looking at a fishing pond and there's all these massive poles in the water, and there's fish in there, you've seen them, and then one by one these poles start leaving, you should build your confidence.
Right.
It should encourage your heart, because we know the need for housing is not leaving. But, it's funny that your response was perfect. Okay, just consider yourself one of the 70 industry leaders that got together, Jason, okay? Here's your attaboy. And this is what they came up, is my point, okay? 2023 will continue to be uncertain and volatile. that's what, after 3 days of getting heads together, that's what they came up with. The industry should brace itself for a sputtering housing market as interest rates stay high through the summer. Any input on that?
I mean, I think the interest rates, we're using all the tools. So whether the rate is high or not, it's still lower than what my first home was.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was about to ask you. It's like, when you've been in the business for a while.
Yeah.
What was the highest one you've seen before?
Yeah, I mean, mine was almost 8%, 7.875 when I started the business. My first home was 6.25. Right now people can get interest rates under 6%. We can utilize the buy down and the ARM programs to get even in the 4s, right? I mean, so there are options there. I do think that so many of us within the industry over the last so many years, 3 years or so, it's just been so exciting. It's been a wake up, and it's just been rocking and rolling.
Can you imagine being born into that market?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But I think we have to remember,
spoiled.
yes, we have to remember that we had to put dirt under our fingernails. Like, we literally had more muscle back in the day. And again, we had mental strain over the last couple of years because we did so much work for different reasons. But now we're digging the ditches a little bit deeper, right? We're trying to drive a little further. I mean, also COVID made us all work from home, and not to say it made us a little lazier, but I mean, we have to get back out and do all the things we used to do.
Well, here's one thing too that I think that I believe that this is going to bring back the value of a real estate professional.
Yeah, whereas and a lender, I think too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Whereas the last few years, it was a lot of people are questioning why do I need you?
Right.
Once again, Jason, you hit on a really key element, and that is, I think personally, from this old guy's perspective, that. And we're not talking about commission here, but I'm saying I think that the slowdown, the change rather, does exemplify the value of the agent. And suddenly there's not this question about, are we worth what we're charging? I mean, because when all it took was sticking a sign out there and it would sell, we can still argue all day long they're going to get more money for it. But now that sign is sitting out there lonely and getting cobwebs on it if they don't have a professional. So I think that the value starts becoming really, really more obvious. So the next topic here that they discussed was life after the industry's mega lawsuits. What does life look like after buyers' agents take a new role, and will it spawn a new business model or brokerage? How will commissions change, and how will agents be compensated? We don't have enough time on one show to discuss this in depth. But Jason, let me put it in your lap again. What do you think what does it look like if, for instance, if the things happen that have been discussed, and if you haven't been paying attention to the lawsuits, guys, you need to delve into this. And again, you can do that with Inman or other news sources that are in real estate. But there's a good chance, there's an honest to goodness chance that what we see today in the way of buyer brokerage won't be the same 6 months, a year, 2 years from now.
Right. And, so I've done a lot of reading on that, as I know you guys have. Before I give you my thoughts, just for our listeners, what they're looking at is, having the selling agent, the buyer side, negotiate their commission from their own clients and not get it from the listing agent.
Sure.
So let me just understand this. So you're saying that my buyer, who's got barely enough to pay their down payment,
right?
Yeah,
is now going to come up, and they are asking for their closing costs to be covered. Now I'm supposed to negotiate my fee as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's pretty much what they're talking about. And looking at some of these, the way the purchase and sale agreements are written in different places, I don't know, but they're not all the same, obviously, right? But I know here in Tennessee, the way ours is written is that the seller is not directly paying the buying agent.
Correct.
The seller is paying the brokerage of the listing agent.
Okay.
Correct.
And so you negotiate. Let's use for this example 6%. All right, you're negotiating a 6% fee for yourself, and the broker. And so if, and this is in the contract, if an agent, a selling agent brings a buyer, then you are agreeing to participate in sharing part of your commission that you negotiated. And so from that standpoint...
And that amount could be anything that you choose, really.
Right.
Yeah, it can be anything. But here's the thing. Because the whole lawsuit's based on that it's inflating the price of the house because the seller's paying both sides. Right. No, they're literally paying one side.
That's a great point.
And when they're in the listing agent is agreeing to pay the other realtor. So that's where I get
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. And that's where it goes back to, maybe there's language in other places that are different, but I know here in Tennessee, that's the way it pans out.
Is this going to be a national decision, or is it state
We don't know yet, because it's actually gone back and forth. They did a ruling, then they brought it back, and so who knows how it's going to pan out. But at the end of the day, if it turns out that buyers are get their commission from the the buying side, that imposes the question: how's that money going to come? Where's that? How are they going to pay that?
Right. I mean, you think of all of our first-time home buyers that are saving every dollar to be able to purchase their first home. They don't have the extra money just sitting there.
Yeah,
and if they did, it was going to go towards furniture and or upgrades or those things. So
yeah, I mean, and that's the sad part about it, is people are losing sight of. They think that the seller is paying it, or that's how the interpretation is, when in reality, the value of that home is going to drop at least that much, and probably more, if that buyer can't afford representation. And we're going to find this whole thing, like I shared on the Huddle Call recently, about this caveat emptor deal. Back in the day when I got licensed, I'll never forget one of the first listings I went on. The guy took me to his closet and said, "See that big brown wet spot there?" He goes, "I've got some paint that I'm going to spray over that." And I thought, man, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
What's the buyer supposed to do about that? And so I asked my broker, and he goes, "Oh, it's caveat emptor. That's let the buyer be aware." And I kept looking up in that closet, and every time I'd go over there, I thought, man, I can't act like I don't know that. But that was how it was. Well, how is it not going to happen again if there's no representation for the buyer and the buyer can't afford it? I mean, it's going to be it could be a real tangled situation.
Well, and this is where it goes back to, you really need to focus on listings. Become an agent that is focused on getting listings to where that is the majority of your business. And, essentially, nothing is, absolute in real estate, honestly. But you potentially are protecting more of your business by focusing on listings.
Okay, so now I'm a buyer. Let's just talk through this.
Okay.
I'm a buyer. I don't have representation because I can't afford it, right? Let's just say this is where we are in the world. So then I go to your listing. I love it. I want to buy your listing. You then you become a facilitator, or if I don't have a real estate, what happens then? What do you think?
Well, you still have duties with the listing, so with the sellers, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And yes, I will facilitate your offer. I can't give you any information. I can't help you. You don't ask me, well, what do you think if we offer this? You have to literally just give me the information.
Sure.
And, when we run into this, I prefer them to email me. That way I've got it recorded.
In writing, okay.
And I'll say, hey, here's a list of the things that I need to put on the offer, and I'll send it over for your signature. Because I am representing the other party. And there's another document that you send to that buyer that lets them know that they are not being represented.
Okay. But so it could still happen.
Oh, it happens. Yeah, it
happens all the time. But where's the allegiance going to be, when there's no longer buyer representation?
Right. That's I mean,
it's going to, until you get back in the wild west here, as far as what the buyer's buying and their ability to feel, that was the whole argument. That was the whole fight is, hey, as a buyer, I want representation as well. I know that everybody, now see, back in the day, the attitude or the understanding was everybody's representing the seller. Okay? Everybody's representing the seller because the seller's paying the commission. But Jason, I think you bring up a really critical part, and that is the seller is paying the listing agent, and the listing agent is agreeing to share or not, with that other agent.
Right.
So it should be. I think that Tennessee. I don't know how it is at national level as well, but you hit on a key element here that I hope everybody hears, and that is, and we've been talking about this as a company for a while. You've got to increase the amount of percentage of time in your business towards listings versus working with buyers. That is the security. For eons, the term has been, or the mantra has been, list to last. List to last. And here now it's going to be more, I think, more prevalent than ever before, is that, regardless of buyer agency changes that might or might not take place, if you're listing property, you've got control of the market as much as anybody can have, and you're leveraging your business so that you can actually have this thing called life. I think that's what I hear.
Interesting. After they do make the decision, when are they planning to make the decision? Is there?
We don't know. It's kind of a month-to-month situation.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It could happen tomorrow, and there's some theories that say it's going to be really ugly if that happens. That's why I want to talk about these things and not in fear, but in preparation, that we've got to be thinking about changes are happening.
Proactive.
Weird time. Let's be proactive. The best defense is a better offense. The better offense is pivoting when necessary.
Yeah. And again, if you're the CEO of your own business, right, you're truly owning your own business within real estate. You are already thinking 2 steps ahead. What's my plan? What's my game plan? With, from a lending standpoint, when the margin's compressed, I still need to keep a roof over my head, which means I had to pivot. I had to change, the plan of attack. You have to keep going, right? I love what you were saying earlier, is just kind of lean into the hard or the difficult, or the uncomfortable, and continue to stay truly committed versus just, semi-interested. I don't think part-timers, I think that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, they're not going to fare too well in the next couple of years.
I think that when it comes to part-time, I think that they'll be okay if they're working another occupation that complements real estate.
Sure.
If it takes them out of that, ability to focus on that when people need their help, forget it. You might as well hang it up now.
Yeah.
But having something complementary, whether you're Ubering or whether you're working a network marketing deal or doing something, getting in front of additional people on a regular basis, I think that's we're going to see more of that.
Yeah. That's hard with lenders too when they're part-time. I just think, you're not in it all the time to be aware of how to navigate through all the changes and things.
There's a level of knowledge that comes by just by being in the market and being full-time. This is what you do and this is what you focus on. That, it's just hard to match if you're trying to do it part-time.
Oh, I agree. And I'm all about full-time. I was anti, dual career until the last few years. I've just seen I don't have the heart as a broker of almost 40 years to tell somebody, you got to quit your job to do this full time. In a perfect world, absolutely. Hopefully you prepared yourself so that you got 6 months of income and all these kind of things so you can really delve in, because I know personally I would feel a little hesitant if I was selling my home and I knew that the person was at a job during the day or whatever. I would struggle with that.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying too is clearly we want to stay afloat. We don't want to put all our eggs on black and hope it all works out. You do have to make sure that there's still enough income there to navigate. I talked to one gentleman who did do the Uber thing for a long time, and he said that was the best because he saw all the nooks and crannies of all the areas he didn't even know where half of all the things were, and it was really able to open up his eyes to even more. So
I know
I'm good with all that.
Alejandro Mercado, he came to the country unable to speak English, and he Ubered after waiting on tables for a while. He Ubered and got to know the city really, really well. But again, I think if you have to do something else, make sure you're doing it where you're meeting new people every single day and you're adding to your database of people who know, like, and trust you, and then you're continually giving to them and staying top of mind.
Smart.
So life after the prop tech meltdown: who will survive and who will thrive? Where are there opportunities in the aftermath? Has the digital transformation stalled as innovators struggle to stay alive? Jason?
What say you?
What say you?
What say you?
You're more of a tech guy than I am.
You're our data man.
Yeah, well, and Monty's probably tired of me always sending screenshots of the stock prices and everything, because
certain companies,
you can
see the future.
Well, you can evaluate the business, on how they're running.
Right.
And so, a lot of them have pulled out. We've got a few that are sitting there, hanging on by a fingernail. And then, the big one that everybody knows is even trying to restructure their business right now and figuring out are now doing a partnership with Zillow. And I'm talking about Open Door. They're doing a partnership with Zillow. And so how's that going to look? I'm not sure, but they're also doing another thing where they're trying to keep the homes themselves and, assist the sellers and buyers themselves. So, it's just going to see how it all pans out. But at the end of the day, we were saying this all along, the business model just doesn't work. Their business model did not work in the best selling market ever. And it still didn't work.
They've always lost money.
Yes, they've lost billions. Over $2 billion.
How do you lose $1 billion in a quarter and still be open? How do you even do that?
In the top selling
Doesn't Amazon,
market.
did Amazon teach them that? Possibly.
Yes, but here's the thing. They still have investors. They
Right.
still got some deep pockets out there. So it's just going to see how how Wall Street reacts to them
Sure.
and to our current market. Because
well,
investors pull out too.
Yeah, we saw OfferPad, and I liked OfferPad, honestly, for a choice of that arena of iBuyer. And we've seen their stock. What has that gone down to now? It's just
it was down around 50 cents or so here lately.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that for anybody, especially But okay, so the next question was that they worked with was life after messy COVID fallout. How have we changed? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So, I think from my perspective that COVID, all it did is force forward, our evolving into our technology that we already had in place. I mean, who would have guessed, the founder of Zoom, who would have guessed that was sitting on an absolute gold mine, I bet he didn't. I mean, I don't know how old that program is, or service, or whatever you want to call it, that option to communicate. But boy, oh boy, did he ever, boy, did they make some money on that. They had to.
Yeah. And I think there's been a lot of sadness that came out of
Right.
COVID. We'll start there. But there's also been some positive changes with all of us, old fashioners that have had to force ourselves to learn more technology, to be able to talk to even more people through Zoom, right? It allows us maybe not to have to drive as far. I do think the flip side of all that has made a little bit of us accept the excuse to not get out and do, I find many people comfortable. I'm just going to work from home today, and, or not do more. I felt like back in the day we did more. I don't know.
No doubt about it. I think it's made a lot of people lazy. I haven't shared this with our agents.
Lazy, they get halfway dressed.
The top half,
Yeah.
the top half, but.
We'll just be honest, right? I would rather they don't come to the staff meetings as much anymore. I know another girlfriend owns a brokerage. Nobody's showing up anymore, right? Or you're going to do it on Zoom, but are you really on Zoom? Are you really present? Are you really not
there?
Zoom?
There's nobody showing their picture.
Right. So it is, I don't know, it's been a mixture of lots of emotion when it comes to that as well. Now, many people saved lots of money and because we didn't do anything for a couple of years, we didn't go on those vacations, and we spent a lot of money on food and alcohol, I guess, during the people were able to, have
the
shipped.
essential business.
The essential businesses, really made that happen.
And two, I think, with the COVID, and this is just my own thought, it seemed to spur the movement. Moving out of certain places.
Yeah, life's too short. I gotta go.
But also the governments and how they handled COVID. There seems to be that's when everything
politics
started.
Piece.
I see. The politics part. Thank God for that. I guess Nashville had half the population. And we would have sold half the homes if it wasn't for California. Just a little while ago, an hour ago in our office here, I think out of the 6 people were there. I'm sorry, 8 people that were there. 6 of those 8 were from the West Coast. Some of them are agents, some are about to be our agents. It's just pretty incredible when you think about how much Newsom has had influence in Nashville real estate.
And one thing I was going to say, it helped real estate also because with the whole Zoom, people getting comfortable with it.
Yeah,
to do
showing houses and stuff, right?
Showing houses, but also having consultations via Zoom and your presentation and all that. So it's made people aware and comfortable using that technology.
Right, and that has been a positive for sure. I do think if you do, you can definitely talk to more folks. It's been interesting selling real estate. I think you guys sold more on a FaceTime or you did more of those.
Oh yeah.
Over the internet and things that. I've heard more stories where people moved here without even being present.
I know. I don't know if I could do that.
I don't think it's a good idea. I really
I'm
don't.
so particular.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
of course, don't ask Monty because he was our realtor at one time.
But we now are welcoming back the inspections and the appraisals and the home warranties and all the things that got tossed out there with the whole COVID.
But here's
craziness.
what we haven't done yet, Carrie Ann, on that topic is we haven't paid the price for not doing those things for so long.
Or seeing
year.
it. I'm getting the text messages. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
going to
be
termite
ugly.
damage
Or
and all the things.
shoddy,
and what do I do now? I said, call your real estate agent.
Or the shoddy workmanship, because people were looking the other way, inspections weren't being done, and builders were being, even the inspectors looking at the new construction sometimes were missing stuff because they were too busy and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's continue on real quick and wrap this up. But this bottom half of this page here, let's take turns reading this. So I skipped down this first one after you answered the first time, Jason, about 2023 will continue to be uncertain and volatile. The next one here is opportunity is harder to come by. Now, these are the results after these 70 industry leaders
got together,
spent 4 days together in Palm Springs, California. And so we're hitting these highlights real quickly. Opportunity is harder to come by, but less so for brokers and agents who help their customers navigate the changes. Okay? Guys, this is where your value is going to shine or not. Okay? It's up to you to be that guide, to be that authority, to be that person who helps your client think through this process. And always, 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 if at all possible, please, I encourage you, work from a place of contribution, not of survival. This is not about you making a commission. Yes, we need to do that. We have to pay our bills. This is about you bringing service and value and conviction to a consumer that is always gauging you based on how they feel about what you feel towards their best needs or your best needs. They, people sense that. So always be building your
This
authority.
one I like here. Recovery is waiting in the wings for 2024 as pent-up demand is released on the market. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's driving that is when they sell, they got to buy.
Right.
So, and I got to buy with the same interest rates that we're seeing today.
Yeah.
So I think once they get used to it, it's kind of like releasing the belt after a big mill.
Okay.
What's the next one, Jason?
Home prices will fall in many markets, but sellers will become more realistic as inventory remains tight.
Right.
I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, we are seeing that. Like we said, we're already seeing sellers offer home warranties right out of the gate.
Right.
And
Closing cost.
Yeah, all of it.
All
So
the things.
It's happening.
Next one, industry consolidation will heat up as weaker brokers face failure. Agents, teams, brokers who are liquid manage their costs and lead with the culture will survive. I absolutely agree with that. You've got to lead with culture. You cannot be a head shop. You've got to have the right people. I just got out of an awesome appointment with a super lady. She's got a great potential in going to shift gears, I believe, because she's about to join us. But I was sharing with her, Jason and I are the gatekeepers here to this office. This is not a head shop. We want to get the right people in the organization. I pray that every broker, every owner of every real estate company treats their business that way to ensure that the right people are representing our industry. That is so crucial. Okay, we can't have people out there that, as much as possible. And again, it starts with the broker being selective with people who will simply do this, the next right thing. It's not rocket science. Have a conviction that do the next right thing.
Amen.
Absolutely. So we're looking at industry
I said that one.
Oh, you already did that one.
Yep.
The fallout of COVID has subsided, but the value of home has never been more important.
I think that's been underlined with the value of the home because so many people are staying more at home.
The great geographic reshuffling, has ended, but the value of relocation has never been more important as people search for safety and areas that align with their values.
Yeah,
we're literally just talking about that.
So many people moving here.
Tennessee was a fabulous place to be. I don't know. I can't claim to any foresight there, but
that's
it is.
The beauty of we are protected in a sense because we're still a destination city.
Yes.
And being in Williamson County, it's always kind of had its own little bubble. So there's still a little bit of protection there as well.
Affordability, tax policy, and the work from home phenomena will continue to pace the geographic realignment. We just kind of went over that. That's absolutely true.
By the end of the year, we'll have a clear picture of the aftermath of the industry lawsuits. So that's true.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, but don't wait, guys, don't wait until then.
Yeah, for
to have that understanding and mindset that, please, even if you raise your focus on 10%, 20% more towards the listing part of it, you're going to increase your security in the future.
The broker corporation tradition, as we know it, will be threatened with one outcome being buyer agent fees baked into settlement documents.
Interesting.
And I think you're going to play a role in that, Karen, as far as the mortgage part of it. You personally, everybody's going to
just put more. Go ahead, add more. Go ahead, keep it going.
Follow you, but the mortgage companies are. I love watching them. The market changes because that's usually where the creativity starts to. They've got to work with the buyer.
We just purchased a mortgage firm. Our company did. That's been a large one, right? And so there's some just deciding that it's time. It's time to make the change and get out. So what do you got here? The fees in agent relationships will be more transparent. There'll be confusion in the short term, but new models with more clarity will take shape in the long term. Similar to, remember when we, back in the day, had to say rest in peace, the good faith estimate, and the new CD came out, the HUD one was, died, and all the things, right?
Act, things,
and then who knew, we were thinking, to sign docs 3 days prior, that is going to change our whole world. And now we still close loans in 8 days and still make all that happen. So, change is going to happen, but again, we get used to it and keep moving.
Jason?
The prop tech meltdown is not over as these emergent tech companies race to get profitable. Many will shut down while others will merge as follow-on funding remains challenging. It's just like we were just saying, we got Opendoor and Zillow coming together.
Innovation will not end as AI breakthroughs reshape real estate marketing, help deploy property data, and make agents and brokers even more productive. I hope that's true. I don't know that AI is going to make people more productive. I think they're going to be tempted to be lazy on that. Let's see. I get the value of it. Let's not lose sight of the personal touch and the human interaction there and put everything on autopilot. Jason, in your lead program, I absolutely 1,000% see the value of AI because we live in an instant I want information now, and we can't do that when we're out showing property, but that if you get that bot working for you like you have offered, I think that's a godsend.
Yeah, in that sense, it's definitely a win. But it is sad if the AI will lead to end many of the administration jobs, but make companies more efficient and profitable. So, and
that's coming. They've already opened up a McDonald's without any employees, taking orders.
Really?
It's happening. Yeah. And going back to the AI for real estate, and that's what I tell our agents is that the AI is not to replace you. It's to help you. Treat it like your employee because they've got certain tasks that they're doing so that you can take over. So, I think there's going to be a happy marriage with that. It will, of course, take over some things, and it's going to happen. Like it said in the marketing. Yeah. I use that chat GPT.
If I can never get on it, it's always so busy for me.
Really? Yeah. I've never had an issue, but I've used that many times, and it's freaky. It's freaky.
It's real freaky. I'm just really questioning what its intention is. I'm sorry, but I'm old school.
Different
right.
Different show for different.
Let's share this last part of this article for everybody. So this is the summary. The entire industry is being tested.
We feel it.
Amen.
Oh yeah.
Never has collaboration. This is what I want everybody to hear. Never has collaboration, partnerships, technology, and realism been more important. In the aftermath, the industry will be leaner but stronger and better equipped to create a positive consumer experience. And that's what all this evolutionary process is about, guys. At the end of the day, it's a better experience for the consumer. That's why we have security in it, because an AI or a bot or whatever is not going to replace us.
Right.
It's to create a better experience, okay? Each time the industry gathers, I am blown away by the sincerity of real estate leaders and their true desire to enact change. This year was no exception. Even as the light emerges, perhaps distant at the end of the tunnel, we all need each other more than ever. So let's work towards that understanding that we do need each other more than ever, that we are representing an industry that has had a black eye over the years. We can change that by continually always doing the next right thing. And remember this part. I was reading Napoleon Hill's work earlier today, and the key, I think, to pressing forward here and becoming mentally tough, because everybody has to be. If you expect to walk through this, you better be starting to work anyhow towards mental toughness. But we've heard Simon Sinek talk about start with why. You've got to know your why. You've got to know why you're doing this, okay? Why you're putting up with some of the stuff, why you're pressing through. You've got to know your why. Napoleon Hill said the same thing with knowing your definite purpose in life. I think that's a deeper calling and a greater pause of really looking inside your heart and determining, what is my definite purpose in life? You know, is it to serve people? Look, if it's not, then go find what it is that feeds you as a human being. Okay. I mean, you know, I know it may not be that easy, but please, if you're going to continue in this industry, you've got to dial into what your purpose in it is, and then serve that purpose with all your heart, and then know that the money is going to take care of itself. You're going to continue to raise the bar of an industry that has been pushed down because we have not had that bar high enough to keep people in it that have the right attitude sometimes, I think. Well, this is part of that process of weaning out those who don't have the consumer's best interest at heart. That's what I truly
lean into the hard, lean into the uncomfortable. Tomorrow's a new day. Yeah. So good. Always good to see you, Jason. And Lonnie. Thanks everybody for joining us. We can't wait to have you come back. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.